Hi everyone, this is Karak from ACG, and today I'm bruised, beat up, busted up, and unwashed as I bring you the review for Blood Bowl 2, a story about what happens when fantasy football is taken too far. Nah, just kidding. Actually, in a way, I guess I'm not, because that is what Blood Bowl is all about. True fantasy football, not trading Ben Roethlisberger to the Browns in flights of fantasy, but true fantasy. Elves, Chaos Warriors, Dwarves, Skaven, humans, and others go to gridiron, battle one another in a turn-based football game where even the cheerleaders carry brass knuckles. This is a game that the saying Hard Knocks was probably made for. Death, poisoning, and magic spells can all happen before the first half is out in Cyanide's adaptation of the board game classic. You carry your gridiron greats to various arenas and try to splat, smash, stab, slash, sucker punch, and sorcery your opponents into submission. Also, sometimes you actually try to score a touchdown. So this is a review for Blood Bowl 2, Ratman body slams, uncountable personal fouls, and the only game where the football itself is a weapon. Remember, if you like the review, please subscribe. Graphics are up first. Now, while we're reviewing this on the PC, I can say that there have been some noticeable improvements on the original, and though the game does have some frame rate issues, rarely overall is it anything but a totally smooth experience, and it should be for a game that's going to spend most of its time paused, which is something I never thought I would say in a sentence, but that's the way the game actually is. Basically pausing for periods of time, then action is overwrought as HGH-ridden fantasy caricatures smash into one another with the force of two Mack trucks being shot out of cannons. Up close, the characters look pretty excellent with high-resolution textures, excellent shading and lighting, and an attention to detail that I think might have given one of the mutants two belly buttons, which makes me not really want to think about what its mother looked like. All of the fantasy races look excellent, with the high and mighty elves sleek and bold with cheekbones that could cut a Thanksgiving turkey, Skaven all dirty, scratching, and nasty creatures, a rat and man mix that only exists in US presidential races, and then dwarves and humans as well as orcs round out those, representing their fantasy stereotypes. Additionally, there's a large amount of personal customization the game has on the characters themselves that lets them stand out in your mind with personalized little bits for star players. But don't get too attached, and we'll come to that part in a bit. The arenas you fight in are also well done, though for a fantasy game, it falls into the same trap as the original title, where they're just a bit too sparse for my taste. They never truly feel inhabited by their fans, and yeah, it's rare that games get this right anyway, but in a game where fans beat the ever-living shit out of players if they step out of bounds, I wish there was a bit more to the arenas other than the proper representation of Astrogranite. All in all, I do have to say the graphics are excellent, though held back by a bit of errors in the self-shadowing and some huge errors in clipping. Absolutely dramatically massive clipping errors. But other than that, honestly, I thought it looked pretty good. Sound, music, and voice.
Few matches, Bob. And another cry bites the dust.
Sound is always first in this trilogy of awesome, and the first thing we're going to cover is you have to remember that a good deal of time the game is paused as you're thinking through moves. During that time, atypical crowd sounds are reverberating, a white noise of noxious anarchy around you, interspersed with occasional fight songs. But when the action gets down and dirty, the sounds do a fairly good job with telling the story of two beings slammed into each other like they want to wear one another like skin suits. The smashes are brutal things of otherworldly force, and for the most part, the sounds are where they should be in the spectrum, but at times there is a bit of a cacophony as hit sounds seem to be repeated and copied, resulting in some messy audio work from time to time. That being said, for the most part, the different creature noises are suitably independent of one another and do a good job of making you feel like you might just be playing football with a Dwarven gunner as your QB, especially when they damn near shoot their own heads off from time to time. Music. Well, I have to say, the game isn't really known for music, and aside from occasional momentary bursts of music, it's a fairly trackless affair. What is there is okay and nothing to write home about, though the main theme itself is excellent, with enough horns to fill a New York tunnel in rush hour. Unfortunately, it's left behind for the most part during gameplay, and is drowned out by 40,000 screaming fans. And now on to voice. Here's the kicker, and this is something that's bothered me. I love the voice announcers, even though they're absolutely hideous with their jokes, because that's the joke itself. They are horribly bad characterizations of normal NFL broadcasters. But here's the big problem for me. They rarely say anything worthwhile, and when they do, it's really slim pickings. This is a game that could absolutely be awesome with a John Madden-style presenter discussing various aspects of the games, the players, and histories at length while you're going about choosing what you do and are paused a lot of the time. It would probably cost amazingly high production resources, but if a game ever needed more voice, it's actually this one. It feels so odd doing all of this action, doing all of this strategy to hear someone say, "Let's see what the other team can do." It's like a lesson in how to reduce the enjoyment of a moment, and it's a lesson that's actually very well taught. I mean, think about it. It's two freight trains in Skaven disguises slamming into each other in an attempt to kill. I wish all of life had a narrator for those moments. Actually, I just wish those moments happened in real life. Gameplay. Turn-based football in a fantasy environment. Let's remember that. This is a sport known for brutality, hard hits, technique, excellent team play, and did I say hard hits? Because, yeah, those two. Well, this game has two of those things, and the other stuff, not so much. First, it's turn-based, which means regardless, it's slowed down. Additionally, it can feel wonky when you have one team all move, loading up one side of the field, running in circles around paused enemies, only to have them suddenly go into action. If you're not accustomed to the way Blood Bowl plays, it's going to be mighty shocking the first 100 times you see the entire offensive line leave you in the dust like your team is standing still, which in this case it actually is. Depending on the race, as each race has its own strengths and bonuses, this can lead to a turn-based chase down the pitch as you try to take out the ball carrier, or it can turn into watching an Elf-Star player run half the length of the field like Neo flying around in the Matrix before you even get your turn. You see, Blood Bowl is all about the players having specific stats like armor, strength, and so forth, and some impact your ability to block an opponent, which really means assault them because in Blood Bowl punching is love. Well, one of those stats is movement, which corresponds to spaces on the field, and you can then push them even farther past that if you want to push your luck and risk possibly falling down. And here's where some of the odd rules for many gamers come into play. If you fall down, it's a turnover. Because in Blood Bowl, turnover doesn't mean the ball carrier drops it. It means the team currently moving has someone fall down or the ball carrier drops it. This can result in the possibility of taking one turn, watching your player fail to block someone, and having a turnover instantly. Now, of course, this can also happen to other players in the AI, so the issue is relegated to everyone having the same shit chance of an orc with an IQ of 3 trip while trying to push someone down. So that means it's not only the strategy of getting your player into the other end zone without losing a limb or being eaten by a character, which can also happen, it means understanding who to move when, and if players surround one another, they can get bonus dice for their moves. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this can result in a repetitive knock everyone down, run the ball a couple steps, then watch all of them get up, knock your players down, and try to get near enough to your ball carrier to hit him, and repeat again and again. Additionally, most players have some kind of special skills, and it's vital you pay attention to them, as sometimes a player may have something like block, which means you can expect to knock them down only to find out in certain instances they don't get knocked down because of that skill. This can play into your strategy, and so many things like always hungry, which is a skill which basically means that if the character has the ability to toss another player who's holding the football, and yes, that's as cool in the game as it sounds here, they also have a chance of just eating the dude as well. It's all suitably chaotic, but at the same time, to a new player, it can be absolute anarchy. You can play a campaign in single player, a multiplayer league, and various network games, including a nice couch co-op game. And since it's turn-based and the strategies are all going to be in your head, playing while sitting next to someone does no disservice to this title. Also, while playing the game, you get to get cash, which can be spent on things like rowdy cheerleaders, halfling cooks, and spellcasters, all of which somehow impact the game in various ways, like the ability to re-roll bad rolls or heal injured players. It's an odd title, and one that has a fantastically almost hedonistic fan base, and that's where the customizations come in and will make a lot of sense to those people. When creating your own team, you can pick a race, a team motto, and are given a general template of a team. Then you can go in and mess around, buy star players, bribe refs, and basically do things that are done in the normal NFL. It's just in Blood Bowl, it's admitted and doesn't involve lawyers. You can also create your own multiplayer leagues with their own timed events, and after each game, money's earned. Players are healed and more management decisions need to be made. Since you earn XP during games, this can be used to upgrade players and to add suitable enhancements that change them from a high school fullback to a Jerome Bettis-sized machine of meanery and mayhem. Here's the rub, however. Turn-based football in a fantasy environment is like placing a tag on your item that says incredibly small niche fan base need only apply. And oddly, Blood Bowl seems fine with that, doing very little to augment its original gameplay with new features, or even features that might smooth out some of its rough edges. It's a game that's really just made for a certain audience, and to everyone else it gives them a knobbly middle finger, but a good-natured one. Lastly, I will say this. I do not agree with the game's doling out of races as pre-order bonuses, and I never will. A player, maybe, but a full complete race like the Lizardmen is is a complete sham to me. If they want to lock away stadiums and other graphical items, sure, but entire races seem borderline to me. Then again, it's par for the course these days. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. Fun factor. Listen, I like Blood Bowl because to me, as a board game, it's actually fun, and I felt the same about the computer game, but I know it's not for everyone. It's janky and weird, and sometimes the rules make about as much sense as someone caring about what a Kardashian thinks, but in the end, it's for a particular group. We just don't want to argue about which one of those two groups is better right now. You know, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. This is a wait for a sale, unless you're dying for Blood Bowl and don't have the original. It doesn't add enough to the table for me to make $45 seem palatable to fans who have the original version especially, and despite some additional modes, I still can't see that the money going to this is a good use at full price. Wait a bit and pick it up, maybe make some leagues and go to work. It's not a bad title, but it's not a particularly good one, and it doesn't really offer enough for me as an original owner that I would feel that leveling up is necessary, and it certainly doesn't offer enough for a new player to take a chance, despite just how cool the idea of a QB eating another player actually is. So that's it for me. If you liked the video, hit thumbs up. If you disliked it, hit thumbs down. Leave a comment, whatever. As always, peace out.